Hi, hello. We are going to be prepping and recording and editing a short story by Oscar Wilde this week. So today I'm just up bright and early to walk the dude because it's very hot in the UK this week, so hopefully the recording booth doesn't get too warm.
So I've got my story picked. Before we go into the booth and begin recording, we need to prep the story. So this is looking at things like characters. Is there any information we can take out of the manuscript about the character? We don't want to get to the end having given a character a really gravelly voice to suddenly realise that they're meant to have a high-pitched voice. It's usually accents that get you. But yeah, so we're just going to... Prepping is effectively reading through the story and taking out all the information that we need to bring the story to life properly and fully, or as fully as we can. But yeah, so let's get to it.
Okay, so we've prepped, and now I'm going to warm up and then we are going to record. So if you prep well, I find it definitely has an impact on your recording ratio. If you understand the story and know what's happening next, you're just going to be able to, and if you've picked up all the mispronunciations and everything that might happen, if you've already worked out phonetically how to say the words that you're maybe not quite sure about, then you're gonna breeze straight through it, and you can actually focus more on being present with the story, which I think is really important. The Devoted Friend by Oscar Wilde. Let's just check some settings. The Devoted Friend by Oscar Wilde. I heard a pop on that. My tummy's going now. The Devoted Friend by Oscar Wilde. Got. One morning, the old water brat One morning, the old water rat put his head out of his hole. He had bright, beady eyes and stiff grey whiskers, and his tail was like a long bit of black India rubber. The little ducks were swimming about in the pond, looking just like a lot of yellow canaries, and their mother, who was pure white with real red legs, was trying to teach them how to stand on their heads in the water. "You will never be the best in society unless you can stand on your heads," she kept saying to them, and every now and then she showed them how it was done. But the little ducks paid no attention to her. They were so young that they did not know what an advantage it is to be in society at all. "What disobedient children!" "What disobedient children!" cried the old water rat. "They really deserve to be drowned." "Nothing of the kind," answered the duck. "Everyone must make a beginning." And what, pray, is your idea of the duties of a devoted friend? Asked a green linnet who was cannot speak. Someone just started mowing the lawn. Ugh. They have. That is the dulcet sound of a lawnmower. Yep, I can hear it on there. Okay, well, I guess we'll come back to it. By the time they've finished mowing the lawn, I will have to go pick up the girls. So I shall see you later this evening. Bye. Well, hello. It is now 9:05 in the evening. You'll be pleased to know that the lawnmower has stopped, although a very noisy motorbike has just gone past. So, I mean, I'm not holding high hopes, but we are going to do our best to get this short story recorded so that tomorrow I can edit it and upload it onto my other narration channel where I narrate short stories. Where were we? Not that far in. Who was sitting, who was sitting, not singing, which I think is what I was about to say.
Hello. So now everything has been recorded. We just need to edit. One of the things that surprised me about this one, and isn't something that I picked up on when prepping, but it is something that I will look out for in the future, is that it's like a story within a story. So a lot of the character voices are done by another character. So it's like characterception sort of thing. It's like a character putting on another character. And then remembering that when that character is finished, we go back to the first character's voice rather than my own narration voice. So that was an interesting one, and something that I didn't quite pick up on in preparation. But yeah, so we learnt something there, which was interesting. But yeah, it was a lot harder than I thought it would be doing that. But yeah, that's what these are for. Practice makes perfect.
Okay, so I've moved into the booth because then the second you come across a pickup, I can either write a list or I can just record it as I'm going. And this is a bit more efficient, so I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so the first pickup we've got is, I've read it as, is this story about me? When the actual script says, is the story about me? So when we are narrating an audiobook, obviously the author spent a lot of time on editing and getting the book to the standard that they want, and usually a very high standard. We can't then be changing words, even if it doesn't change the sentence. That's not what they've written. It needs to be read exactly the same, unless it's like an obvious mistake, in which case we just let the producer of the audiobook know, or if you're working with an indie author, just let the author know and just double check, like, is this the intended word or is this an accidental mistake? They happen. That sounds like my children. But yeah, so I just need to make sure that I read it exactly as it's written. That's definitely my children. There we are. Sorry, just had to pause for a spot of bracelet making. What was I doing? Oh yes, is the story about me. So I'm going to listen back to it. I'm going to get the... I'm listening for the pacing and the tone of my voice, and also to try and get back into it because it's a character line. Got to try and remind myself of the character's voice because it was a few days ago I recorded this now. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm just going to try and match it. The hardest one for me, I tend to be all right with character voices and tone. The hardest one for me, I find, is pacing, which is why we do punch and roll. So we'll set our mark, although I can't do it with this. But yeah, we'll set the marker and then punch and roll, go back like however many seconds you set it, and it'll give you a run in, and then you'll start recording. But with pickups, I've just got another track. I'm going to record for a little bit before. I'll record the line over the top of the incorrect line, and then I'll cut it and just splice it in, basically drop it on top. But yes, so here we go. Is this story about me? Is the story about me? I missed the T off the end of about there. I'll go back a little bit further actually. Is the story about me? And we've not got phantom power on. Hello? There we are. Funnily enough, I can hear myself now. Let's try again. Is this story about me? Missed the T. Is the story about me? There we go. So I'm happy with that one. Good grief, that is noisy. I think I might be having a problem with my Behringer, actually. It seems to be very noisy. Is the story about me? That is very noisy. We just seem to have a lot of dirty power right now. I might have to come back to this later. Is the story about me? Yeah, that is so noisy. We're going to come back to it later. And if I'm honest, I might be changing out this interface. Because while dirty power isn't necessarily a Behringer thing, it's not usually your interface that's causing the issue. I'm going to leave that there so I know where I am. I never had this problem with the Focusrite, so that is something that I'm going to look at and perhaps do a future video on and just take you through and show you the differences. But yeah, it's looking really noisy right now. I'll see you later. I will say this is why I usually do my pickups straight after recording, but I did record this quite late at night and I was tired. But yeah, usually I'll finish recording and then go straight back to the beginning of either the short story or the chapter, and I'll just quickly listen back so that I can do any pickups there and then that way also I know that my voice is going to sound the same and it's going to blend a lot easier, and you're not going to have that jarring quality difference that you sometimes hear. Is the story about me? Is the story about me? Is the story about me?
And that's everything. So we saved it with the pickups as a backup, and then I have, what do? I put a filter curve EQ on it. I compress it, I do some noise reduction, and then I put a limiter on it, and then I export it as an MP3. There is an ACX check that you can get for Audacity. You have to download it and put it into the software separately. But that is a massive help. I always use that. It's not a guarantee that it's going to be perfect, but I've never had any audio come back if I've used the ACX check through Audacity, so that's good. But yeah, that's all finished, and it's taken a while. It's probably taken me a whole week, purely because of stopping and starting with the girls. With the heat, the school keeps closing, and yeah, that's just life, I guess. I work around my children, and that is the joy. If you are interested to know how I have my booth and editing area set up, I will link the video somewhere. And if you'd also be interested in listening to the final product, this is The Devoted Friend by Oscar Wilde. I shall put the link to that in the description down below. And I shall see you next time with a video for what to look for when prepping your script. Bye.